Growing up, I always struggled with like my period. So I got my period when I was 13 and a half, which is a kind of average, age to get your period. And from that first period, I felt like I was suffering, and I just kept saying to her, Mom, I'm in pain. Mom, I'm in pain. This doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel normal. Medical practitioners just overlooking these things and just saying, oh, take this. Here's a plaster, but that's why we have to advocate for ourselves. You know your body best. And that's exactly another reason why I've been speaking up and out about my condition, is because I didn't know or see enough people online speaking up and openly about this. It was normal. It became my normal, which was sad, even though the pain was only maybe up to a 5, and then it would maybe reach an 8. Worse occasion, like 5 times a year. But obviously 2 years ago, when I started getting extremely ill, it went like to a 20. Once a month on our cycle when we bleed, obviously that tissue that women bleed out is lining within our womb, within our uterus, that grows, right? But somehow with women with endo, it doesn't just stay in the womb and exit the body monthly. It grows in other parts of the body. That's exactly what endo is, right?
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Zen and Now, the podcast exploring healing, health, and the human spirit. Today, we're joined by Lauren Champion, a powerful voice and advocate for those living with endometriosis. After years of silently struggling with pain, confusion, and misdiagnosis, Lauren found the strength to speak out, not just for herself, but for the countless others fighting this often invisible condition. In this episode, Lauren opens up about her personal journey, from the early signs and emotional toll to the breakthroughs in our own healing. She's here to raise awareness, break the stigma, and remind anyone going through it, you are not alone. So let's dive into this honest and important conversation. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here, and thank you for asking me to be here.
No, amazing. I think these kind of discussions are quite needed, to raise awareness for those, who, like myself, also don't understand it, but also for those actually experience it, to probably get a little bit of guidance and, help along the way.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I can't even say that I knew much about it even when I was diagnosed. I thought I knew, but that's exactly why I've been a lot more open with, what I'm going through, because I want people to be more aware, and I need people to understand, or if they know someone that's going through it, they can, say, oh, I've heard what this could be, So that's.
Amazing. And when did the moment, arise for you? When did you know there was something not right?
Okay, so actually growing up, I always struggled with like my period. So I got my period when I was 13 and a half, which is a kind of average, age to get your period. And from that first period, I'll never forget, it was like day 3, and I had to go to work with my mom because it was like December time, and it's take your child to school, take your child to work kind of day. And I felt like I was suffering, and I just kept saying to her, Mom, I'm in pain. Mom, I'm in pain. This doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel normal. And she was like, no, man, you can't be feeling so much, because no, this is the first one. It shouldn't be, It was kind of brushed off, but they also didn't have any knowledge around these things,
Yeah.
They wouldn't actually know, if there is something further. But maybe a year or 2 after that, so around 14, 15, I actually got extremely heavy periods, to the point that I had like extreme clotting and things that the gynecologist that I was referred to at the time was like, oh my gosh, this is like what women go through in, later stages in their life after they have kids and stuff. But they also couldn't wrap their heads around it. I was also fainting a lot. So then they were just like, okay, you're anemic. Here's some iron tablets,
Right.
And then at 15, 16, they were like, we're not figuring this out. Let's give you the pill. This is going to stabilize and balance everything out. And most times as a woman, when you've got these suspicious things happening in your body, oh, it's normal, but take the pill, right?
Yeah.
Because that's like a cure or cover up for everything. And I was on the pill for 10, 12 years. And even through those years, I still had like a little bit of fainting here and there. I had terrible periods in between. And then at the age of 27, so a few years ago, I decided, you know what, I want to start coming off of this medication because I do want to have kids someday, and it does
Yeah.
take time for this contraceptive to leave the body. Not knowing when I wanted this, but I just wanted to prep myself. And I think that's when it started. That's when I realized, okay, something's actually not right here, because I stopped taking contraceptive and everything went downhill.
Right.
Within a year, my periods were extremely heavy. I had such bad pain that I had to take off work regularly. I was seeing specialists and GPs and gynecologists that were just like, oh, you should just go back on the pill. And I'm like, no, you're not understanding. I'm trying to get off of that so that I can clear all of this from
Yeah.
my body so that I can one day have children. And I did have the same gynecologist for a really long time. And I think that's where I went wrong.
Okay.
I should have seek more, you know, more advice from different doctors at the time, but I just trusted him. Like, he was the family gynecologist. He's in his
Right.
70s. He knows what's up, right? And
Mhm.
then obviously I don't live in South Africa anymore. I live in the Netherlands. And the first year I was in the Netherlands, I think it was just a lot of changes, weather, food, all of these environmental factors that played a role in like this change in my body. My hair started falling out, the hard water, whatever it was.
Right.
It
Right.
was just like always online trying to see what's going on with my body. Like, we're adapting, right?
Yes, correct.
Exactly. And so when I did go back to South Africa just to visit, I was having obviously a very bad period, and I was like really not well. And one of my friends said, are you still on about this? You've been talking like this about these problems for years, for as long as
Hmm.
she's known me. And obviously now I'm there on holiday and I'm bringing it up again. And as you can see, I'm like,
In
ill.
pain.
Yes. And in so much pain that she said, you know what? Stuff it. And she called her own gynecologist, and she acted like me on the phone.
Okay.
And she's like, okay, Tuesday, 11 o'clock. Yes, I'll be there. And then she was like, okay, I've booked you with my gynae. This can't go on. And I went to her gynae. And obviously this woman has so much experience with all kinds of things. She does specialize in women's fertility and
Yes.
birth, which is something that's important in alignment with endometriosis.
Mhm.
And I went to her and she said, my girl, I think you've got endometriosis. And at that point I had suspected it because obviously we Google our symptoms, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So she suspected it, and I was like, mm-hmm. And she was like, but you're going to be okay. You're strong. And in that moment, I was like, why are you saying it like that? Because I didn't understand the intensity of what endo really was, or I
Mhm.
just didn't understand. So I was just like, yeah, of course I'm going to be okay, you know? And then at that time, I got so ill that I had to actually take sick leave of work. Luckily, in the Netherlands, when you take sick leave, you still get paid. So I'm thinking, okay, 3 months, find some specialists, sort out this endo thing,
Come
maximum,
back.
yeah, okay. Some people have surgeries, whatever, go on.
Mhm.
2 years later, here I am, and I still haven't worked. And I'm lucky to be with a company that has been taking care of me and looking after me on the side the
Mhm.
entire time I've gone through this journey. But I mean, if I was probably back home, I don't think it would have been that easy.
Yeah.
I think I would have had to move in with my mom, and my family would have had to help me out, you know.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that this journey, or my life journey that brought me to the Netherlands by chance and all these things, was definitely part of what was meant to happen for me to get to the bottom of this and give me peace of mind while going through this journey. But yeah, honestly, I had no idea what endo was, hey. And then that's when it hit me, because I got home and I started doing all this research, and
Yeah.
damn. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Nah, that's I I I I truly I get you, and we always it's easy to put a plaster over the problem and not actually go into the root cause of it. And I think it comes down to laziness
Mm,
in terms of from our medical practitioners, because I think they also have like this notion of just seeing. number of patients per day, and they need to get the numbers through.
Yes.
And instead of just taking the time out to really understand what is going on with you and give you peace of mind, it's a two-way thing, because one, you're going for something that's you are afraid of, or something that you're not aware of, that's something that's happening in your body, please help me. And they're supposed to be kind, empathic, take the time to listen to you,
Yes.
understand what's going on with you, and then diagnose. But I feel a lot of the medical practitioners, uh, I've also had a few that just treated symptoms instead of root cause.
Yes.
And coming from it's funny because coming from a tech field, we are trained to do root cause analysis when something goes wrong.
I'm also
you know
in tech, so I understand.
take the time out to go and find exactly what the problem was, and then fix that, so that everything else starts to um, fix itself out or resolve. And I feel I feel like you've gone down, like you said, you've gone down the rabbit hole of googling and researching and trying to figure it out by yourself, but you don't have the knowledge.
No.
You don't understand. You've not studied any of these things. So, and but like you said, life has a way of putting you in the right place at the right time.
That's exactly it. 100%. Like, I truly believe that now, because I can't imagine where I would have been if I was at home. So I am grateful for that. And you're 100% spot on about us being dismissed and medical practitioners just overlooking these things and just saying, "Oh, take this. Here's a plaster," you know. But that's why we have to advocate for ourselves.
Mm.
You know your body best, and that's exactly another reason why I've been speaking up and out about my condition, is because I didn't know or see enough people online speaking up and openly about this. And the few that I did had like thousands, tens of thousands of followers, because they are the only few doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, you know what? If my small voice can help one person, 100% I'm going to do it. So, yeah, that's exactly why we have to advocate for ourselves. It's not a fun thing to go through.
But
Yeah.
it's bravery. I look at it as putting yourself out there. It's not easy to be vulnerable.
No, it's
It's not
not.
easy to share such personal, traumatic things that go through or you go through in life, to share that with absolute, strangers, the internet, the world. It's not easy, but it brings you to a sense of calm, peace, knowing that you've started to advocate more for your own healing as well. I
Yes,
think that's the most important thing.
yes. I think there's a sense of like, oh, I did that, or something calming in me when someone messages me back and says, oh, my cousin has this, or I have a
Mhm.
friend that has this, or have you tried this? Oh, that resonates with me. I've got whatever, and I'm also on menopause, medically
Yeah,
induced menopause. And then I'm like, wow, you look at how many people that, online, we're all sharing the happiest things. And of course, we're all going to share the happiest moments of our
of
life. No
course,
one
of course.
needs to see the dirty and ugly, because we feel we'll be judged. Oh, you just want attention, leave the camera at home. You know, I mean, even just reading some other people's comments, like, it can be
Yeah,
really difficult. And that's why,
disturbing. Yeah.
yeah, that's why I'm not that active on, social media, or I keep my things a bit private.
Mhm.
But that can hurt, and
Mm.
I don't know if about you, but when you're in this mental space where you're so vulnerable and you've been going through the most, one person can just knock and you'll break.
Yeah.
You just don't have the strength to even, fight or stand for yourself. So I had that fear, and I've only come out of that, difficult episode recently, like in the last 2, 3 months.
Yeah.
Before that, I could never. Like, half the people I know didn't know what I was going through.
Yeah. You felt like you feel like a fraud, basically.
Yes. Even
Yeah.
with work, I used to have the meetings with HR or whatever, because
Mm.
obviously they have to do checks with me, and they have like an external doctor that I have to speak with on the regular. And I'd feel like guilty, and I'd even say it. I'm like, I feel so guilty that I've been taking all this time off work and I'm recovering from surgery and I've relapsed, or things aren't looking good and I'm bedridden. And I'd say I feel like a fraud. And the thing is that there are one or two that completely believe that this is rubbish.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's crazy. Yeah.
So I'd like to share something with you, that
Yes.
happened to me a couple of years ago as well. So while my first take on medication, I'm still on antidepressants, and I felt okay to start to wean myself off, obviously with advice from doctors and make sure that, we did it properly. And December 2021, just before I came to South Africa the next in January 2022, I had a setback, which I was already off the medication, I think maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and I started struggling with a lot of anxiety as well. And I came to South Africa. No, prior to that, I went back to my doctor. I was like, you know, I think I really need to, start my medication again. She's like, yeah, sure. I started my therapy again, all of that, but I got to a place where I thought I was okay when I wasn't. And it wasn't the right time probably to wean off. And I came to South Africa, but that trip, I was offline,
Yes.
literally offline, not on the internet, not on social media. I didn't take any photos of that trip, to be honest.
That's tough.
Like I felt, but I needed to do it.
Yes.
It had to be done. It was very difficult not to take, pictures with your family and to have those memories, to look back upon. It was very tough. It was very mentally challenging, physically, emotionally, very draining. But I think it was a fulfilling one
Mm.
in terms of my recovery.
Oh, yes, 100%. That's so good that you took that time that you knew you needed, you know. But
And
that's
I
very
think,
difficult. Yes.
I think that's, where you were as well. Probably not probably the same, but I think you felt like you couldn't share, you couldn't be in a space where you wanted to be vulnerable. You
Oh, not
just had everything, you held everything internally, and then you work through it now to get to a stage where you are openly sharing your journey. And when somebody has something negative to say about you, it's okay.
yeah.
You don't, you just slap it away.
Yeah, you
It's
really, because you're confident enough now and you're just like, you know what, I'm actually stronger than this. Look at how I've come through. Look at how I literally look better, I feel better, I am better. And a lot of people say, oh, it's mind over matter. But I don't know, I
I
beg
hate
to
that. I hate
differ
that
with that.
term.
Same,
I hate it.
exactly. That's what I was about to say. Listen, yeah, you don't know until you know. You're right. But exactly, it's crazy. In that moment, I'd even feel like a fraud with my own friends. I'd miss a party or a birthday. I'd have to leave early, or I couldn't do this, or couldn't do that, or I couldn't do this activity, and I just feel like, imagine what these people think of me. I'm literally on a vacation with my boyfriend and his friends, and I have to go and take a nap between 3 and 5 because my body's not coping.
Yeah,
No, it's embarrassing. But honestly, everybody's understanding and all of these things. But I mean, you get the odd few that are like, oh, you know what I mean? And that can be very difficult.
yeah. But it's important, and that's why we need to have these discussions
Yeah.
openly and honestly, so we can bring awareness, we can bring, light to the fact that it's not something you can take for granted, or especially from a male perspective, we don't really understand
No,
the
exactly.
human body or the female body, especially like my wife as well. Like, I mean, I grew up with 3 women in the house, but I never really took notice of what they were going through. My dad, yeah, would explain to me when my mom was going through menopause. Look, mom is going through something now. Just be a bit kinder, be a bit uh, aware that she is going through this. Don't take it personally. So at least okay, we understand, but I don't understand what is menopause,
Yes.
what the body goes through, because
Yes.
it's important for you to also have support from your
Yes.
partner to
Yes.
understand what you are going through.
Yes.
Hence why we as male figures have to understand, just as much as you need to understand your own body, so that we can help you. We can help support you. We don't
Yes.
fix it. We're not fixing the problem. We can just be there.
Understanding and supportive through it.
Yeah.
100%. But I think we're also living in the perfect time for this,
Mhm.
because how many more men are, they've got their partner's app on their phone and they can follow the cycle, or those little things, they go with them to appointments, or they know the luteal phase and the this phase and the that
Oh
phase
yeah,
of
yeah.
the body. So I think we're just living in the perfect times where guys are actually trying to,
Mhm.
catch up, because obviously with us, with our parents, that wasn't a thing,
No.
especially us growing up in South Africa, which is like 10, 20 years behind the countries we live in now,
Yeah.
in the nicest way possible. It truly is, when it comes to, forward thinking.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another reason why we're doing what we do, so that everybody could feel included in this, because
Yeah.
it's not just something that women need to understand. Men should too. I
Yeah.
promise you, my partner's learned so much in the last 2 years that he could probably write a book now. A guidance book.
My wife asked me, when did I get my period last? But I mean, why are you asking me? But it's it's a mental thing now. You take note of, yeah, you
Yes,
understand the cycle. Okay, when did you get your last period? Yeah, on this day. Okay, so count. But it's not always the same. And
yes,
but yeah, we have to take note of these things to understand,
yes.
because
Especially
sometimes,
a partner.
yeah, sometimes it's difficult. You don't understand why you have certain emotions throughout, during those the weeks leading up to it. And I don't take it personally now. I know, I'm like, oh, it's
It's that
Shark
time.
Week. I call
Yes,
it Shark Week.
yes, exactly. Or even the week before, our emotions
Yeah.
are heightened, and we can cry for anything, and we crave
Mm.
this, and we irritable, and too hot, too cold, all of these things. But yeah, it's just amazing. I think that the human body is insane, and the human mind is very powerful as well. And I
Yeah.
think that's what I've learned through this entire process, you know.
And in terms of, waking up with pain, how does it make you feel when you're in that moment?
You know what? I think in the years that I did struggle, even though I was maybe on contraceptive, or, in those few 15 years,
Mhm.
I kind of was just used to it. It just became a part of who I am. It was normal. It
Right.
became my normal, which was sad. Even though the pain was only maybe up to a 5, and then it would maybe reach an 8, worse occasion, like 5 times a year. But obviously, 2 years ago, when I started getting extremely ill, it went like to a 20 out of 10, and that's
Hmm.
when I realized this is not normal, and this is actually crazy. And with endometriosis, you get something called endobelly, which is like you get your tummy flares that you actually look full blown pregnant. Like,
Yeah.
I've got it on the metro, and people have stood up to let me sit because they thought I was
Oh,
pregnant.
okay.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
your belly extends like crazy.
Hmm.
But waking up in the night with pain, or being in a conversation and trying to hold your face, and meanwhile
Right.
you're tensing your whole body because your whole pelvis is in pain for whatever reason. It was happening more often, and on a daily, and almost every night. And that's when I was like, no, 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 we got to sort this out. And
Yeah.
it's to a point where you take painkillers and they do nothing. You can
Just
go to
come
the
so
hospital.
you become so immune to those.
And it becomes normal, but it's not normal. You
No.
go to the ER and they can't do anything. They're like, oh, you have endo, like, here's some painkillers. And you're like, the
Mm.
painkillers aren't working. So it can
Give me
be really,
something so stronger.
yes, morphine. Morphine is the one thing that works really well when you have
Hmm.
endo that bad. And those flare ups that occur on or around the period, they can be extremely debilitating. A lot of women with endo that I know actually have walkers, or they just bedridden and they
Just
can't
can't.
do
Yeah.
anything. They can't even have a shower for 2, 3 days until the flare goes down.
Right.
So it can be There's no words.
Mm.
Yeah. It's tough.
Are there any tools or any ways that you can share with somebody who's listening to this? Would they be able to do it immediately, just to try and alleviate a little bit of the pain?
Yes. So I found through all my research and test this and test that, that using naproxen was a painkiller that worked for me, but a really high dosage. So I'd get a 400 milligram dosage of naproxen. Um, you can also find naproxen in Aleve, which is the tablets that we get over the counter in most countries. And the highest one you can get is 275 milligrams. But if you take 2 of them, you're good. And then once I found that, I was like, oh my gosh, I can help myself. Because there was a point I was taking them 3 times a day
Wow.
for months. Because obviously I waited so long to have surgery, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was something that helped me. And then a heating pad. You cannot live without a heating pad. They're like $20 on Amazon, and they just work wonders.
Yeah, that's my wife's second husband now. She
The
calls him a
best.
boyfriend.
I've got like 4 lights in every room.
I'm like, I feel replaced sometimes.
Yes. No, that's the best thing. Either the hot water bottle or a heating mat. That's another thing. But you know what also helps a lot is having a warm bath with some
Okay.
Epsom salts. But obviously, it's not easy when you're living in a country where baths aren't the normal thing in the
Mm.
homes. So you just take advantage of those when you go home or when you're on holiday.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing journey women, I think, in general go through, from birth to till the end, of how transformative the body adapts and has to change, from young woman to womanhood to adult, and then old age. It's
And
crazy.
then,
We don't really understand it as men, because I mean
because,
we
yeah.
we go through we have our own journeys, but I don't think it's as elevated, or I think stressful,
Mm. Well,
as
the
the
male,
counterpart.
yes, the male system is slightly different in that your cycle is a 24-hour
Mm.
cycle and ours is a 28-day cycle.
Yeah,
So basically, it's the same thing we're going through the entire month. You're just doing it every
every
day.
day.
That's why you'll maybe crash in the afternoon and be a little bit grumpy before you have a snack, and then you relax
You'll
and
be
you
okay.
bedtime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the difference, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. I want to come back to when you said, uh, understanding your body, when you first thought, okay, there's something wrong.
Mm.
Did you feel like you could openly go to a professional and say, look, please help me out? Or what did you have reservations? And also, do you feel like this is a part of family history that you have?
Well, I definitely think it's part of history. I know my dad's siblings did have issues and, maybe a lot of miscarriages and things like that. And then my mom's sibling also had a growth removed
Okay.
within the last 10 years, and her hormones were all over the show. So it's definitely in the blood, even though there is no apparent research on where endo
Yeah,
comes
it's unknown. It's currently.
unknown. And that's only because they started doing research on these things only like in the 90s,
Mhm.
So it'd be a lot further if they started sooner, but they didn't even know what this was. They still are trying to figure that out. But I definitely had reservations, but I happily took my South African document where my friend's doctor had said, I think you've got endo. I can help you sort it out here, but I know you don't live here. But take these
Mm.
papers and go and find some help on that side. So I happily went with my papers, and I was like, okay, I don't know what this means. Help me out. And the GP sent me to a women's health center, and they did a whole lot of tests and stuff, and that all came back positive for endo. And I know a lot of people will say, oh, you can't diagnose endo with just a scan or just to this, just to that. But there are some people that are qualified, and are able to see endometriosis through an MRI scan. And that's what I actually demanded after
Okay.
visiting the same doctor 3 or 4 times, because she wanted me to go on different kinds of medications, the pole
Yeah,
hormone.
yeah, yeah.
And then I went back and I said, listen, my brother, yeah, I want an MRI now. and I want to know because this is not feeling normal still. And she did. And then that's when she referred me to the surgeon that I still see now every 3 months. But throughout that entire process, I was doing a lot of research. There's a group on Facebook called Endometriosis Support Group.
Okay.
It's got hundreds of thousands of women on there, and they all advocate their stories. And I literally learned from reading comments and stories on there,
Okay.
and I would just literally tap the corner bar of the endometriosis support group and type MRI, and I'd read all of these diagrams of MRIs and people's results. And, some of them are nurses and doctors and surgeons on there that are also helping or giving,
Yeah.
comment here or there, maybe go and get this checked out. This was what I went
And giving
through.
you legit advice, not just
Exactly. Yes.
just BS from the internet that we all try and read, which
Yes.
happened to me actually, because I was in that space where I didn't understand what was going on. I was Googling symptoms, we're going down a rabbit hole. And
And it
then when
makes
I,
you more crazy.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to a stage where I just broke down emotionally. Everything uh, came out. I think it's something I shared in my last podcast is I think when I went to, we used to go to this Buddhist temple.
Yes.
I'm in Buddhist place and, just meditate. Once a week, we'd go to a class just to find inner peace, mindfulness, all of those things. And on that specific day, I just walked into the class. As soon as the class started, I broke. I think I cried for an hour straight.
Yes.
But because I was, like you said, I was so inundated with so much of information,
Mm.
I really thought I was those things that I was reading,
Yes.
which wasn't healthy.
No.
And what I learned was uh, there was something called Google Scholar.
Mm.
Yeah, sure, it's on the internet, but it's published articles by professors from professionals that are actually in the field publishing information that
Legit.
is good and is
Yes.
legit.
Yes.
So I think now it's a couple of years, 5, 6 years now. I haven't. If something's wrong with me, I'd rather go to the doctor and find out,
Yeah.
or I'd go to Google Scholar and find
Find
a
the
published
information. I
article.
go
Yeah.
to my endo group. Those girls are on the ball.
Mhm.
Because if you're hearing the same story from 5 different people with a similar experience, that's when I started going and advocating for myself, saying, this is a possibility, this is a possibility, could be could this be this? And they'd,
Yeah.
wow, and yes, I know now what I'm talking about because I know I'm not the only one, and sometimes they don't even have the answers fully,
Right.
They studied how many years ago when these things they didn't even have a name back then, some of
Yeah.
these concepts, right? So yeah, it 100% resonate with you on that. It can be mind-boggling and very difficult on your own mind because you can believe worse or you can even believe less. And then when you are hit with the truth, it hits you and it's not easy.
Yeah.
Oh? So yeah,
Knowing that you found out, okay, I have endo. How did that feel? Were you relieved, or was it a shock to the system? The reason I ask you this is because my previous guest said when she was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, she was kind of relieved
I was relieved.
because she actually was given given information that was relevant to what she was feeling and all the symptoms that she was going through. At least now she knew
Yes.
this is what I have.
Yes, to finally be validated instead of
Okay.
dismissed. 100%. I definitely felt relief in that moment, even though she was like, you're going to be fine. I was like, I knew it. I was right
Mhm.
all this time, man. That's how it felt. But then obviously walking back to my car, and as I got in my car, I broke down.
Mhm.
Then it hit me like, I finally have the answers. Now we can work on that. But man, now I need to face how's this going to be?
Yeah.
Because you don't have an idea.
There's no time frame of healing. There's nothing set in stone.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I could tell that person that I was that day what I've been through now, I'm sure she wouldn't believe me.
Yeah. Because there's no time frame. This could be lifelong. It could be 2 months, 3 months. We don't know. It's just we have to go through every single day trying to get better.
And some days are better than others. And that's what
Of
people don't
course.
understand about
Mm,
chronic illnesses or invisible illnesses, you know. We
yeah.
could look perfect and put on a smile and all of these wonderful things, but no one knows what you're truly going through. And no one even
Yeah.
knows if you had full sleep last night, you know.
Exactly. I always, this has been on my top of my mind lately about the, like you said, the muck and the grind and all the dirty stuff. Instead of looking at it as a negative, I started looking at it as the positive, because that's where the work is done. That's where you kind of like you shine your diamond, kind of like, you
100%
know,
working
instead
on.
of yeah, instead of pushing it away, rather embrace it and enjoy the journey through it as well, because you're learning so much, not just about yourself and or about the diagnosis and your condition. You're learning more about yourself, how much stronger you are, how
Oh,
much kinder you are, how empathic you've become to others, not just yourself. You understand the world doesn't evolve around you or revolve around you. So you learn all those things, and I feel it's like an aha moment where those moments, yeah, you want to get to the other side and say I've gotten through it, and that's amazing, and everybody wants that. However, we don't want to show or explain that going through the journey and through the grind and is also beneficial, and it's beautiful in its own right.
no, 100%. I 100% agree with you. The growth from this, I mean, even my boyfriend said to me last night, he just said, "You've changed so much since I met you, you know?"
Mhm.
And that's 3 years ago. But I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, like, obviously I've grown more humble. You know, I've
Yeah.
had my days where I was the party girl and I was just like the center of attention and always just looking fly. You know, I used to
Mhm.
be like that. I still have that in me. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
Like
it's your
I was
personality. It's part of your
the living room
personality.
of you, but I've definitely calmed down and I'm very understanding and I like to listen. Before I was just like this. Now I like
Mhm.
to listen. And I also know not everyone has their eyes on you like we believe that they do. When
Yeah.
you're going on your train, no one's looking at you like you think they are. Oh, I didn't put blush on. Oh, I didn't put lipstick on.
Nah, nobody cares.
No one cares. And guess what? Everyone's thinking the same thing you are thinking and feeling.
Yeah.
So, not that I don't take care of myself, but I'm definitely more relaxed when it comes to these things because not that I'm irrelevant, but there are bigger
No, it's
things
just
in
about
this world.
self-care now.
And then now it's just things are deeper, you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Be kind, rewind. Just kidding, it's not the 90s. But do hit that like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss any of our weekly wellness wisdom.
Have you looked into the holistic side of things, the
Um,
natural side?
I did look into the natural side when it comes to medicine as well as, you know, mental, physical well-being. When I did look at the medicinal side of things, I can't say that the changes in diets or the supplements I was taking made a huge difference, but they definitely helped me a lot. But I think because my condition was so far gone,
Yeah.
it it just bumped off 20-30% of that pain and those
Okay.
symptoms, you know. So I did try that for a good 3-4 months, you know. I had to cut out certain dairies, I had to cut out eggs, I had to eat certain foods, drinking celery juice every morning, and I was really on the ball with these things, obviously exercise, all of these things. And then I did look at these apps with breathing as well because my anxiety was getting so bad that
Yeah.
that heaviness of the chest where you can't breathe. Like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, it was just a lot.
You're asphyxiated. You keep grasping for air.
Yes, because you're actually
Mm.
just so stressed that your anxiety just takes over. So I just thought that the breathing would help. And I also noticed that when I was having bad days, my boyfriend would look after me a lot and he'd say, breathe, breathe. And when I did breathe, I felt better.
Yeah.
So I think those apps that allow you to center yourself again, you know, they work. Um, and definitely putting more time into being physically active. I'm not exactly the one that likes to go to the gym.
100%. I think that's
No.
where we as a society need to get that out of our minds. It's not just being active doesn't mean you an avid gym visitor. Active could mean just getting off the couch, going for a walk, making
Exactly.
dinner, being active, in a way that you're not just a couch potato.
Yes.
You're actually moving, you're keeping your mind as much as your body moving in a
Yes.
way they're both functioning because
Yes.
you have a task that you need to take care of and your hands and motor neurons are functioning. Hence why
Yes.
we need to get it out of our system. But I don't go to gym, I'm lazy. No, it doesn't mean that. Being
No.
active could be just going out, taking the trash out, coming
Yes.
back, and
Yes.
you've done something.
Even having a shower. You did something today. Oh, I washed my hair. I'd literally be like, whoa, Lauren, kudos, because
Yeah,
those are
exactly.
really hard days.
Yeah.
And those days I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. But when I did actually find the mental space to actually do it, I was like, you know what? This is my big win for today. And
Yeah.
like you say, you don't need to be a gym goer. You can be on the carpet and do 10 minutes of stretches if you want. You can touch your toes and put your hands in the air 15 times. What I was doing every day was going for like 30-minute walks, going to browse at the shop, going to buy groceries, walking around the block, going to feed the ducks,
Don't you
and
feel
then
it's
I would.
underrated activity, walking?
It's so underrated, but listen, we are lucky where we are that we have this privilege.
Yeah.
You
No,
see?
I agree with you there. We are able to, especially from a public safety perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah. No,
That's
100% agree with you there.
my walking is my thing. And sometimes I'd be gone 2-3 hours and I'm like, damn, but I'd always come back very happy,
Mm.
you know? Even if it's cold, I just wrap myself up and I go, you know? So there are things that can be done, and I think we need to stop listening to society in that we need to do extra weight lifts and this, and if you skip a day, it's not good enough, and leg day
Mm.
this and body this. Every little bit of movement is important, is a win, you know.
I mean, we're all different in our own right.
Oh
What
yes.
works for me won't work for you, and what works for you, and
What's for
we
you?
just need to find that. We need to find what works for us as individuals, and then you can start incorporating little changes. Or if you want to start strength training, fine, sure, go for it. Try it out, see if it works for you. If it's not something you enjoy, cool, try
Yeah.
something else.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah,
Shouldn't
but
put pressure on ourselves and somebody else to actually. I always say you can take somebody to the water. How they drink is up to them.
yes, no, 100%. And you know what? A lot of people took me to the water, but me, I didn't want to drink that water. I really didn't. And it's not about laziness. No,
No.
it's just not in the right frame of mind. I didn't see my own value. I lost myself in that I didn't value myself, because you don't. When you feel so worthless and ashamed and disappointed in your body, and you're doing your best to help yourself, but it's not feeling good enough. Look, I tried, but I'm still in pain. Look, I've done this, but I'm still suffering. It's frustrating,
Yeah.
because it's a beat after a beat down after a beat down after a beat down, and then to get back up is very hard. So I think that's where the people we love come in, because then they just those reminders that, you know what, I can do this. So yeah,
Self-confidence takes a big hit.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Oof. I didn't take pictures or see pictures of myself for months.
Mm.
And this past December was the first time I saw photos of myself, because I let people actually take pictures. And I looked and I was like, I was not happy with what I saw.
Mm.
Obviously, post surgery, gaining so much weight, being on different hormones, the body was extra bodyful, and obviously I wasn't happy with that. And I could see that I wasn't caring, or I hadn't taken care of myself as much as I did previously. And that's when it hit me, you know what, this year I need to do something about these things to get my confidence up, to get my life where it deserves to be, because I deserve all of it,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Well,
Body image plays a huge role in part as part of self-confidence.
Does I?
But also we need to accept ourselves and love ourselves more openly and honestly, and not take into consideration too much what other people think of us. Yes, you can be criticized, you can be guided along. I think in a positive way, people can. There's always ways to improve yourself.
No,
We're not
100%.
100% always going to be happy with the way we physically look or the way we behave in societies or in certain aspects of life, and that's okay. But we can always look to improve. We're not going to get it right all the time. Hence, I understand now that if I had to go back 10, 15 years, I wouldn't be able to accept harsh criticism of myself and where I went wrong and what I do wrong in life. Because I always felt I wasn't like the person who would actively go out and do something wrong. So I always feel like even when I did something wrong, it would be like this catastrophe that happened.
Yes, because you're striving for perfection.
Mm.
Because you kind of believe you're perfect in your 20s, don't you?
Exactly. Yeah, you're indestructible, you're indispensable,
Yeah, you're invincible. And
you
then
can just
reality hits.
exactly
Yeah.
hard. It hits you hard, very hard.
Yes.
Is there like kind of like, would you give advice? What kind of advice would you give to younger girls, who are not actually experiencing these kind of symptoms? Because now that you've gone through it, I understand that the reason I ask is because it will just give them a better opportunity to start healing earlier in life instead
Yes.
of, later on.
Yes. I mean, if someone told me this back then, I probably would have been a lot more firm, and advocated a little bit more for myself.
Mhm.
But what I would say is to my younger self, as well as these little women that are, going through similar situations, is that you're not alone, 100%. You're not the only one in the world with this, even though it feels like you are. And what you're feeling is valid, it's real, and there is something that can be done about it. So you need to speak up and advocate for yourself, and you need to get the right people in your corner, whether it be, speaking with friends, parents, I mean, I have a very good
Yeah.
relationship with my best friend's mother, for instance. I would have spoken about these things to her, but I think just the day and age we grew up in, we weren't vocal. Things were just like brushed under the rug.
Yeah.
Whereas today, parents are a little bit more aware, and they do have more open relationships with their children. So these kids can come to them and be open and, speak up. But otherwise, yeah, you've got to open these conversations with your friends if your family is not listening, because
Mm.
they can help you. Many times growing up, I opened these conversations with friends, and even till now, these same friends know what's up because they were there from day one. They know
Yeah.
they were there when I was painting. They were there with this and that, and they know what's up. So your friends can really be
Guide.
a guide and something that gives you confidence in
Mm.
this. Another thing I'll say is I watched a reel recently of a group of girls that were sitting together, and a guy said to them, "What are you most self-conscious about?" I think it was a podcast. And the one was like, "Oh, my toes, I hate my toes," and
Mm.
the other one was like, "Oh, my legs, I have like strawberry legs," which is those little dots you get from shaving or whatever.
Oh, okay.
One was like, "Oh, my belly." The one was like, "My ears. That's why my hair is always down."
Yeah.
The guy literally went through all of them, and he was like, "Do you know that when I see you, I don't think of your toes. I'm thinking about how beautiful your eyes are, and you with your strawberry legs. I'm looking at. I have to say, but damn, that figure is giving." And then the other one, it's like, "Oh, my ears. I'm not even looking at that. I'm looking at your
Mm.
lips and your beautiful shiny hair, or what pressure we put ourselves under when it comes to the physical side of things, especially when it comes to weight, which is something that I've always been very,
Conscious about.
very conscious from very young. Hey,
Yeah.
I have nothing to be conscious of. Ah, now when I look back, I'm like, seriously? Are you joking? did I really think this and that? And my mom's actually, she's going to be commenting here like, I told you so, you know. But it's just crazy what we put in our heads, and it has a lot to do with society, and also has a lot to do with ourselves and our self-image. But
Yeah.
sit with your girls. All of you ask each other, what are you most self-conscious about? Be real, be open with each other. And I promise you now, none of them ever, 99.9% of the time, even notice or think or care about the thing that you are most self-conscious about. So it's maybe ask them what it is that stands out, and rather focus on that, you know?
Yeah. It's important also to have authentic friends, authentic people around you. It's easy just to fall down a rabbit hole because not everyone's going to have your back, so to speak.
Yes.
So we have to discern of who's in our corner and who's not. And I mean, we now are 30s and 40s now, and we've only learning now to cut cords and, you know, remove ourselves away from toxic relationships. And yeah, we probably be on the other side of that as well. People who have removed us from their lives because they feel we toxic, and you know, we have to accept it's both sides of the coin.
Yes, but that's something you can't do in your 20s or younger. You can't, even in your 30s.
Your brain only fully develops at 25.
Yes,
basically.
exactly. Yes.
And even after that, you still don't get it right. So
no, you still no. That's another thing we can actually talk about is time, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no such thing as time. Like, everyone's on their own different journey, and I think society has put this huge expectation on where we're meant to be at this specific time in our lives, and there's just no such thing, you know?
Yeah.
There really isn't. Do you know how many women I know that on the same journey as me that are 18 years old, 45 years old, 50 years old? It doesn't really matter, you know. Obviously, I wish I had caught it earlier, and had I known more back then, I probably would have. But each to their own, and everyone has their own experience. And whatever growth you get from it should be a positive.
Yeah. I read an interesting stat. It's like endometriosis affects 10 to 15% of all women of reproductive age, and 70% women with chronic pelvic pain. That's an insane number. I mean, that's quite a high number. And for there not to be awareness about this is kind of like baffling to me.
Yes.
Or is it something that just women just don't want to talk about?
No, I think that there's a fear around it, or it's just been normalized. That's what it is. Because from a young age, and I know this because, I mean, you're in school, you see a girl, and, oh, I've just got period cramps. Do you have a Nurofen? Do you have a painkiller?
Yeah.
Whatever. It's become normalized. Pain has become normalized in the whole world, right? And even if you watch these docu-series and all of that, like Painkiller, they normalize pain, and it just shouldn't be. And I think that's what it is. I don't think that they don't want to speak up. It's become normalized so much that even those numbers and stats that you're giving me right now, I don't think that accurate. That's that we know of.
Yes. Obviously, that was researched.
Exactly.
It's probably higher, or
definitely is higher. 100%. If I was only a stat that was put on the map 2 years ago, but I've been living with this thing for 15 years, you know, that's
exactly,
how long it's to get a diagnosis. Also, it takes up to 10 years to get a diagnosis with endo.
Coming back to self-care with endometriosis, anything like the little things that you do now just to try and manage?
There's a lot of little things. You know what? I was talking to my boyfriend about this recently. He sounds like he's my best friend. I think he is my best friend, actually. Well, he's been through it all with me. But something that I've brought up with him is that, like, I feel like I found myself again.
Yeah, that's
you
good.
know? Like, I stopped cooking and baking and doing all these things that I love doing in the kitchen. And now I'm like doing them again and even trying new recipes and stuff. Like, who am I? You know, this was me so many years ago. And now I've kind of like found myself again, you know? So I'm quite happy, and I'm really pleased that I'm starting to do things that I used to find joy in again. And I have the energy to, and I get so hyped and excited about it, you know?
That's good, because one sign of like clinical depression is we stop doing the things that brought us love and joy.
Everything. You stop caring too much. You don't even care to make yourself look like a human.
Or wake up, get out of
Oh,
bed. I used to
yes,
always say, like, sleep was my best friend at that point. I used to tell my
yes,
therapist I love sleeping, and I never do.
yes,
I'm an early riser. I rise up with
yes,
the sun. I make sure, because my dad and I, growing up, we were always early.
yes,
Even when we school days, 6:30, you were awake, got
yes,
dressed, you had your breakfast, and you were out the door, or even at 6 a.m.
yes,
Now I rise with the sun, and it's always been part of me. And when I was
yes.
going through that phase of life, I would only wake up at like 8:39.
And it's out of character for you.
Couldn't get out of bed. Didn't understand. Went late to work. Didn't actually do work. Was googling
Yes.
everything, trying to having panic attacks at work and crap, all of those things.
But even getting distracted on social media, like you can doom scroll for an entire day, an entire weekend, an entire 3, 4 days.
We've actually set a precedent at home to at 10 a.m. everything goes off for
Oh,
both
wow.
of us.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's very good. That's very good.
yeah,
We just say no phones in bed.
yeah. Us as well. It's not in our room. We don't have any electronics in the room.
That's
We leave
very
it
good.
outside. And okay, yes, now and then you need the alarm because you probably have something the next day that you need to be awake for. Uh,
Yes.
so, but other than that, we try and keep all our electronics out of or any radiation out of the room, and
That's
just try
really
and
good.
keep it a bit. But like coming back to your point and finding joy with the things that you love doing again, I'm really happy to find out that you're actually now you're doing those things again.
Yeah, I am. I really am. So I definitely have, I feel like I'm on the road in the going in the right direction, you know?
Yeah, the hardest thing
Yeah.
is not to know where you're going.
Yes, 100%. When you're stuck in a hole and you just can't get out and you feel like there's no light at any tunnel because there's nothing. You can't see past. You know what I mean? So 100% that you feel like you'll never get out of it. I actually don't even know when I came out of it. That actually makes me think about it now.
Yeah,
But it must have been when I had to. Okay, yes, I'll tell you a little bit about. I had surgery in July where they removed all the endometriosis that was around about 5 of my organs. So basically, my bladder, my ovaries, my rectum, my bowel, everything in my pelvis was congealed.
wow.
And my ovaries were stuck together as well,
Mm.
called Kishen ovaries. And this is a very high indication of stage 4 endometriosis because obviously it got that bad.
Mhm.
And after I'd recovered, it had come back so quickly that I started having like extreme bloody stool. And I was like, I'd never even had the symptom before. Now what's wrong?
Yeah.
And I went back and they were like, this thing grew back around your bowel almost instantly.
It's like a tumor or something that's
Yeah,
returned.
exactly. Because what endometriosis is, it's endometrium-like tissue. So once a month on our cycle when we bleed, obviously that tissue that women bleed out is lining within our womb,
Yeah.
within our uterus that grows, right? But somehow with women with endo, it doesn't just stay in the womb and exit the body monthly. It grows in other
Other
parts of the
parts of the
body.
body.
Yes, that's exactly what endo is, right? And it's kind of scary that it can grow. It's even been found on the brain, the heart, the lungs, and it doesn't look so good for those women. And most times they actually don't make it because they can't remove endometriosis from
Yeah.
these organs. The gold standard of endometriosis treatment is excision surgery for now. A lot of women do ablation. This is just when they burn it off, but
Okay.
excision is the one you want. You want to have it really the deep endometriosis scar tissues removed,
Okay.
but it is going to come back, right?
Yeah.
100%. But it was after that relapse, they didn't want to, have another surgery quickly. They just said, you know what, we're going to have to do some damage control here, and
Yeah.
let's put you into medical menopause and help you out with hormones. And these hormones have helped me, and I was anti the pill before, but because of what my body was going through and me wanting to prep myself for kids, not knowing when I wanted them anyway. Now that I'm on hormones, I'm kind of grateful. So, but this is being on from a different
Yeah.
standpoint now, obviously,
Yeah.
you know.
Similar to
My,
me, I was anti-medication before. I thought, deal with it without the
Yes.
medication. But now I think in conjunction with Western medication and the holistic side, they both
Mm-mm.
have benefits for me.
Yes.
But that's for me. I'm just speaking
Yes.
for myself. I'm not advocating for somebody to go down my path. It might not work for you, and that's okay. But you just need to be comfortable with that decision.
Yes.
Exactly.
No, 100% spot on. And not, and a lot of women wouldn't agree with me that, oh, this lucrin is not good for you. You know, it reduces the bone density. It's not good for your bones. It's not good for. Listen, my friend, this is helping me right now, and I'll deal with the next steps because right now it's suppressed my endo so well that it hasn't grown further. So this is looking good for me for now. And I am aware of the side effects, and that's why we have to do our research and advocate for ourselves and ask the right questions. And, now I've said to my surgeon, I want a DEXA scan. I want to know what my bone density is looking like. So, yeah, I think each to their own. And it's important to advocate for yourself because you know your body best,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, each for their own, but also you know that you are not alone.
Yes, 100%. Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
it's important to make that that notion of sometimes like we'll say, oh, you're on your own journey, but you have so much of support around you. Because
Yes.
growing up, you always felt like it didn't matter. Those things didn't matter because you were indestructible. You
Yes.
could deal with things by yourself.
Yes.
But having the right support around you is so important.
No, 100%. Like those things don't matter at all. And you can even just see who's grown in your life that have seen and understood things
Yeah,
because you can see their growth, you
yeah.
know.
How when those days come along and it's not great, are you
Yeah.
kind to yourself, or do you are you
Sorry, I'm
frustrated?
laughing. There are days where I get a little like, oh, my life.
Yeah,
And then I'm just like, screw it. I don't have to do anything today and it's fine.
yeah,
And then there's other days where I'm like, oh, this is happening. You know what? I actually don't care. I'm getting on with it. I want to do this and that. And when I have my 30 minutes of, pain or
self
whatever I'm
pity.
feeling, self-pity, then I get over it. But it's kind of up and down, but I definitely deal with it a lot better now. I'm definitely out of the pity me stage. I think I was in that for a long time, and I definitely think it affected the people around me too, because they didn't want to see me like that. I think it was hard for them to see me like that.
We
So I'm
forget
glad.
that, right?
You do, but you're so consumed in
Yeah,
what you're feeling. You don't care
100%.
what everyone's thinking and feeling.
Yeah,
You don't care or know or think, oh, this could be affecting my mom, this could be affecting my partner, my children, my whoever. You don't think like that.
yeah. I mean, which is normal. Like I think in a way,
Yes.
yeah, it's nothing we can advocate for or be mindful of in that
Mm,
moment because you are so consumed
in
by
yourself.
yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And only afterwards when you are being told, hey, you know what you went through really affected me this way, you kind of realize the destruction that
Yeah, that's
was
horrible.
led. I mean, the discussion, the destruction path that
Mm,
was left behind, and you look at it and you, okay, yeah, I know this case. I'm sorry. I'm
yeah,
really
yeah. And
sorry.
obviously, they're not telling you to, oh, yeah, make you feel bad or worse
No,
about
no.
yourself. It's just to have a bit more self-awareness. You
Mm,
definitely come out of it with a lot more self-awareness, and a lot more gratitude. Oh, 100. Like, I'm so grateful. I can't tell the people that have been in my life how grateful I am. I've told them over and over and over and over and over again because they've just made the biggest difference for me.
yeah. Support is such an important tool
Mm.
towards healing.
You take it for granted when you're in those
Yeah,
moments.
yeah.
Mm.
What brings you what brings you the most joy knowing that now that you've shared your journey, or you've shared the vulnerabilities with the audience, how do you feel that it's going to be beneficial for you?
I I feel it brings me happiness because there was definitely one or two people that I watched and they gave me insight into something that helped me. And now I could be one of those people that someone's watching or listening to. And now they're like, oh my gosh, I could try this or I should be looking into this. So I don't know, it makes me really happy. Even with the few people that have already reached out to me, I feel like, I get you. I'm here. I feel you,
Amazing.
Yes. And even guys have reached out to me and said, I think my partner has this, or I think my mom or my cousin or my this. And I'm like, oh my word, do they have this? Do they have that? And they even told their partners or their friends to message me, and now I have strangers asking me questions. I don't know, it feels really good. And there's a power in it too, because it's so uplifting for me,
Yeah.
Not that I'm a knowledge
No,
powerhouse,
it's therapeutic in a way.
but it's a therapy,
Mhm.
100%, Yeah.
No, amazing.
Yeah.
I'm truly happy for you that you've gotten to this stage where
Yes.
you're able to share openly and honestly, and also find peace within yourself to know that this is not the end for me, and there's so much of life still left in me. Yeah, I'm not going to let this deter me from living life the way I want to, and that's power in itself. That's mindfulness in itself, and showing others that you can overcome those obstacles when you're faced with them, and just guiding them along the way is, I
Yeah.
think, a lot of people just need that, just a little bit of support.
Yes.
Not, you don't have to fix anything, just to
No.
know that if you hold my hand, I'll walk with you. That's it.
Yes. Yes. And even just the silent support,
Mm.
like not the hardcore pushiness, like just the silent stuff is so good. And I think we forget how powerful we are and how powerful we can be in other people's lives.
Yeah.
Good, bad, ugly, all of it.
Before we wrap up, is any last thoughts, like for somebody who's struggling with endometriosis, or who is in the middle of it? What advice would you give them?
I would just say, just believe in yourself. You believe that what you're feeling is real. You're not crazy. And there is someone out there that can help you. Don't stop doing your research. Don't stop advocating for yourself. And this is a journey that's going to have a lot of ups and downs, but it's not all down, even though it feels like it can sometimes just be a dark hole. There is light at the end of the tunnel. And you're not alone. There's millions of us women on this planet going through the exact same thing. And, they could reach out to me anytime. And there's a lot of women online that you can reach out to with the same problems. And I'm sure you'll find more answers. But yeah, you're not crazy. You're definitely not crazy.
That's amazing. And I will
Yeah.
leave a description to Lauren's profiles below. You can check her out, reach out to her if you need to. And thank you so much, Lauren, for joining us today. Your perspective and of overcoming challenges and finding balance through movement and mindfulness has been truly inspiring. I've learned a lot today, so thank you so much for joining us. And yes, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Please subscribe, join the family. Make sure you like this podcast, share it with people who are actually needing of it. And until the next one, guys, thank you so much. Stay Zen.
Bye.